Hello, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to our Washington for Black Lives Town Hall and celebration. We're really excited to talk about some of our legislative wins this year, as well as where we hope to kind of go in the future and some of the next steps for our group. And we might even be joined by a legislator or two as well. Um, and so please feel free to throw questions in the chat if you have comments, questions, or thoughts. We're happy to answer those as well too. But thank you again for jumping out and celebrating with us. So let's go on to the next slide. So wanting to talk a little bit about again what our town hall or what today is about, and that's just our legislative celebration. We can go to the next slide and talk about the recap from the session. But this year we have a ton of priority items and support items that we worked really hard this past session to try to see them to fruition. Not all things got there, but we did see a tremendous amount of investment and support in our communities from our lawmakers and from some of our legislative champions. We were also really able to advance the conversation and really be able to talk about these things in a way that was really more meaningful and what we hope will eventually move the needle. So again, while not everything on this list was passed, um, we definitely did see the conversation move forward in a meaningful way, right? And to just talk about some of these things, right, as one of our core priorities, Washington for Black Lives is really in strong support of establishing community oversight boards in local communities to make sure that we have some of that power shifted back into the hands of the community when it comes to the oversight of our law enforcement. Another great piece of legislation was the Housing Justice Bill, which ensured that you couldn't discriminate against folks who've been incarcerated when it comes to their housing, whether it be renting or buying, right? And so we really um, want to continue to move that conversation forward while bill didn't pass. We know how important that is and how important that is to our communities. Even in some of our support items, looking at things like baby bonds and guaranteed basic income, recognizing that will start to shift the conversation and really start to shift some of that, some of those resources back into the hands of our community, right? And just ensuring that we keep that the economic mobility of our community centered at our work, right? Because we know that we want to make sure that people are having, we just want to make sure that our communities have the opportunities to be able to receive some of a lot of the financial resources that are out there. We'll jump to our next slide. So there was a lot to take away from this legislative session, lots of wins and some lessons for the future. Um, we have we had really a really strong set of community partners and community allies um, who really did who again we worked together to be able to move forward pieces of legislation. We worked together to move forward this community work. Um, and I don't think I've seen so much community partnership and coalition building like how I've seen over the last couple of years, just from folks really working to uplift each other's work and working to be able to create platforms and spaces um, to be able to talk about the things that we're all working on. Um, we were able to talk about some of the really strong and important community priorities that we've heard from a variety of our different stakeholders and community members. Um, and so many Black and Brown legislators who were working hard to move this work forward. And so, again, there were so many wins. And so, while we may not necessarily have seen it in the sense of, we may not necessarily have seen it in the sense of like pure bill passage. Um, but we have seen some of the wins from just being community partners and community stakeholders and things like that. And then lessons for the future, right? We know that there's quite a few factors that impacted our session, whether that be knowing that this is a midterm, there's midterm elections going on, and that a lot of our state representatives, or our state representatives, and some of our senators are up for reelection this year, on top of the kind of larger midterm elections, recognizing that this is a supplemental budget year and that that plays a big role in just kind of how policies passed in our state. COVID and like a lot of other factors played a role in just how the session played out. And we also have a wonderful community partner here to talk a little bit about Guillermo here from Front and Center to talk about his perspective and some of the work that he did this year. And just to again talk about and debrief some of this legislative session work that we've done. So,
Yeah, great.
before.
Thank you, Sam. Can you hear me okay? Okay, great. Hi, everyone. My name is Guillermo Rogel, and I'm the legislative advocate with Front and Centered. So Front and Centered is advisory member on the Washington for Black Lives Council. And so for us, we really try to provide that lens, that environmental justice lens, as we move through legislative session. So it's been a month-ish since session ended, and I think I just want to highlight a couple of things on the environmental justice and climate front. I think the big one is the transportation package that was passed this year, the Move Ahead package. For us, building in environmental justice and climate into the transportation package meant whatever our investments were, this $16 billion package, we just wanted to make sure that it actually reduced emissions and that there were funding and projects set out for things like active transportation, public transportation, and dedicated to communities that we know really needed that boost. So we were happy to see that that although the transportation package did include some highway projects and road expansion projects, it was a big improvement compared to the last 2021 package that was proposed. So we are seeing those investments in public transit and in active transportation, so folks can walk, so folks can roll, folks could bike in their communities. But we know that's not going to be the end, at least for environmental justice and climate in the transportation space. We also saw that the federal government also passed its own federal infrastructure package, which we're going to have to monitor and see where those grants go, because that also included quite a significant amount of funding for highway expansion and road expansion projects. I will say that the one thing that we're looking forward to going into next session is our frequent transit standard. So this is something that's going to study a baseline standard for public transportation in Washington State. So no matter where you're at in the state, we just want to make sure that, we can actually hit every 15 minutes public transportation comes. People can get to work and people can get back from work as well. But Washington doesn't have its own standard. So we're going to be working with the Department of Transportation and our partners on a study that we got passed during this session. So it was a great year, I think, for environmental justice. I think we're just going to have to look forward into next year and see what are going to be the big priorities for legislators, and also connect back with our community members and our different spaces and see what they can focus on for next year. Like as Sam mentioned, it's a big budget year. So we're just going to have to go in asking for different programs, budget provisos that we know are going to reduce emissions, reduce health disparities, and invest in our most vulnerable communities. So yeah, that's where we're at with Front and Center. But yeah, anything you want to add, Sam? Any questions?
No, sorry, I'm just really laggy right now, but no, that was so great. Thank you. And we're really grateful. And if you want to throw your email into the comments too, if you want folks to be able to reach out to you and stuff like that to get more information, I think that'd be great as well too. Or we can figure out a way to throw that into the chat. So yeah, again, thank you again, and we really appreciate that. As you know, environmental justice is a huge priority to our group and has been something that we've uplifted for as of late as well too. And so again, just grateful to have you as a partner, and thank you for your update. Um, and again, right, in thinking about the future and just what we need to do to kind of move the work forward. It's just things like that, continuing to engage with our community partners, and to continue to develop new strategies to be able to support our champions externally. I think one of the things that we've recognized and noticed is that while we have more Black and Brown legislators than ever, they can't do this work alone, and that we have to continue to be um, good stewards of the work and to continue to support them so that they can, move forward the things that we know are a priority to our communities. Jump to the next slide. And next, just wanting to do some thank yous to our wonderful, wonderful, wonderful legislative champions. Um, thank you all so much for the amazing work that you all have done this past legislative session. Rep. Johnson, Rep. Ty, Rep. Intamin, Rep. Simmons, Rep. Hackney, Senator Wynn, Senator Nobles, and Senator Trudeau. We are so very grateful and so very thankful for everything that you all have done to be able to kind of move forward and advance the work of our communities, and want to continue to be in partnership and be in community with you all as we continue to move this work forward in whatever way that that looks like. And so be on the lookout for something from us as Washington for Black Lives to thank you even further for the amazing work that you all have done this past legislative session. And I don't know if we have any of you all on the line or if any of you all are watching on Facebook or YouTube, but please feel free to throw something in the chat. And yeah, again, we are just so happy and grateful for you all. Thank you. And we can go to the next slide. Which brings us to our next set of thank yous. Thank you so much to our amazing, amazing, amazing community partners. Um, we could not have, again, done this work without you. The ACLU from Washington, the Transportation Choices Coalition, Washington Conservation Voters, um, Urban League, Pairs, WCA, Balance Our Tax Code, the Racial Equity Team, and again, so many more others who either sit on our advisory board, um, sit on our core team, general supporters of the work, folks who have, helped to co-plan events with us, to be able to create spaces for us and us create spaces for them. It's just a really great opportunity, and it's been really great to have so many of you all as wonderful community partners and stakeholders. And so I'm just wanting to give a special thank you and shout out to you all as well, because again, we could not do this work without you. We are moving right along, y'all. And couldn't be more grateful for you all to take your evening and spend your evening with us too. So, what's next? What does the work look like as we move forward and move past this legislative session and into the next phase of our work? Um, we have a lot of exciting things on deck, and part of that looks like a variety of different things. It's We really hope to one be able to bring on a statewide organizer. Um, as of right now, I'm the acting statewide organizer, but was really brought on to be more of the legislative and policy role, but have done my best to be able to kind of step in this role. But we know that for the work to continue to move forward, we need somebody that can jump on full time and really be committed to doing the statewide organizing for Washington for Black Lives. We're really excited about the development of our prosecuting attorney scorecard, similar to our policing scorecard on the Washington for Black Lives website. This will really go what we see it as a companion tool to be able to look at and grade all the prosecuting attorneys from each county in our state. And so we're really excited to be diving into that work and really doing some intentional research and seeing what their conviction rates are, how many BIPOC folks and Black folks take deals and get convicted and all these things, right? And also what are their stances? What do they say about accountability, and how do we start to tear apart the relationship that prosecuting attorneys and police officers have, because we know that that has been detrimental to our communities. Um, we want to do some direct election campaign support. It's really important to us to ensure that we have or have lawmakers who represent the needs of our communities, right? And so this year we really plan to be intentional and really more involved in the election and the campaign process. And so as we continue to move the work forward, we'll provide more information about that as well too. But we're really excited about being able to do that work as well. Just continuing to support our community partners, because we know what how important their work is, right? As I mentioned in the last slide, like and we had Guillermo on here today to talk about the work that Federal Center is doing, but some of our other advisors and coalition partners that like Balance Our Tax Code and some of these other organizations are doing really great work. And while we can't necessarily lead on that work, it's really important to us, and we really want to be a part of it and continue to be stewards of it. Building more legislative relationships, because we know that that work is really important. And if we're going to go into the next session even stronger, we got to continue to have those relationships. We want to build out our coalition, add new advisory members and new core team members, hosting community events with the potential of some of them being in person as well too. So that's an exciting development as well. And then just continuing to uplift some of the work that our local communities are doing also, getting out there and meeting with folks and talking to them about what are they seeing, what's working, what's not, and how do we start to do that work more intentionally, because we know that legislation is one way to get the work done, but implementation is equitably is important, right? And so we have to make sure that we're doing that work, and that we're doing it well, right? And that we don't see as many unintended consequences from the policies that we hope to pass. So we're going to have a busy few months. There's going to be lots of ways to get involved, lots of ways to support the work. And we're just hopeful that you all come along on the ride with us. And so we'll throw in the chat too. You can go to the Washington for Black Lives website, as you can see at the bottom of the PowerPoint there, and sign up for our newsletter. And we'll be sending out lots of information for the next bits of work that we're going to be doing, and also opening up the invitation for our advisory group and planning some of our next events, right? Like we're gonna, after this, look forward to our Juneteenth event as well too. So be on the lookout for the date of that, and things like that as well. So we're just really excited about the work and can't wait to continue to do it all with you. Jump to the next slide. Lastly, just a huge, huge, huge thank you for all of your support and all that you all have done to help us get to where we are at today. This was literally just our second legislative session. We are a small coalition. We're just getting this work started, but we have done so much in such a short amount of time, and I just cannot wait to see what we do next. So I want to thank you all so much for your time. And I want to again thank our legislative champions, thank our community partners, thank our advisory members, our core team members, WCA. Shout out to Denise for managing the PowerPoint in the background, and shout out to Kamal for even getting this whole thing off the ground. I just am really happy to be a part of something so amazing. And so we won't take any extra time during your evening. I think we can jump to the next slide, but we'll get ready to wrap up. We wanted to do this quick update, make sure that you all have this information, and be on the lookout for what we're up to next. For more information, you can reach out to team at WaForBlackLives.org, and someone will get back to you ASAP to give any more information. If we have no questions in the chat, we can go ahead and wrap. Thanks again, everybody. I hope you all have a wonderful evening.